Man, I hate YouTube sometimes. It can be a real pain in the backside. See where the stream's at. Hopefully it won't take too long. Very infuriating sometimes. So, stream's just loading up now. The stream's up, we're all good to go. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 9 of the PlayStation America series here on Race Spec Esports. This is the Chinese Grand Prix at Shanghai International Circuit, a 3.38 mile, 16 turn racetrack. Circuit designed by Herman Tilke. Held its first ever Grand Prix back in 2004. Since then, it's been the home of mediocre racing in the real world of Formula 1. In the virtual world, it tends to be a fairly mixed bag. Sometimes you get incredibly boring races, and at times, like last night in the Pacific Tier 1, you can get some really dramatic, action-packed races. Now, unfortunately, because YouTube is a pain in the arse, we couldn't watch the beginning of qualifying, but fortunately, we get to see the pointy end of qualifying here at Shanghai. Everyone appears to be on the soft tyre. There was one driver, though, on the mediums. That's SWM Bean. He's got them fitted on right now, and his current personal best is set on a set of medium tyres as well. Currently 5th fastest with a 30.4, but our current pole sitter, as of right now, is KD 1997 with a 1 minute 29.673. There's very little time left in the session, a bit over 2.5 minutes. So these drivers will more or less be preparing themselves for their final flying laps. KD has given himself enough time, so then if he makes a mistake on this flying lap, he has enough time to try and set another. He's making his way around turns 1 and 2 and into turn 3. This Snau complex is quite technical. You have to be quite gentle on the throttle, particularly if you're not using traction control. Around turn 5 into the heavy braking zone of turn 6, 3rd gear, and he's purple to the first sector. Exiting turn 6 towards the sweepers of turn 7 and 8. Absolutely flat out in these conditions. Takes a somewhat late apex, so then he can open up turn 8, 6th gear. Goes down to 4th gear for turn 9 and then into turn 10. Doesn't use any of the curve on the outside. Into the heavy braking zone of 11, a potential overtaking point on the racetrack. Into turn 12, and then the sweeper of 13. It has a slight amount of banking here, and the car sometimes can get quite unstable. KD keeps it relatively under control. Down the long back straightaway with DRS open. Heading towards the heaviest braking zone on the circuit, turn 14. It's the most obvious overtaking point on the racetrack. Hard on the brakes, 3rd gear. And around the brief kink of 15, that little kink there, that's a corner according to the official track map. Around the final turn, turn 16, with DRS open up to the line, sets a 1 minute 29.323. Improves by 3.5 tenths of a second. Sefi, on a flying lap, coming to the end of his first sector, is up by 0.5 tenth of a second. We have less than a minute left in the session, so these drivers are genuinely on their final flying laps. There's a racing point on the grass. That is Flavius off the road there, trying to give space to the cars around him. Around turn 9 and then turn 10. And on the long straightaway towards turn 11, hard on the brakes and up by a colossal 0.5 second. With that sort of speed, he's trying to challenge for pole, but he has a twitch, a little twitch there at turn 13. Exiting the corner, down the long back straight. DRS open. Speedo climbs up and over 330 kilometers an hour into the heavy braking zone of turn 14. Takes the apex nicely in 2nd gear. Uses a bit of a curve on the outside towards turn 16, the final turn on the racetrack. And invalidates, cuts too much. And he'll be furious with himself so much more. Oh, no. Oh, thank goodness he's ghosting. That was rather silly there from Sefi, with him crashing his car like that. I understand that you're frustrated with your invalidation, but regardless, you shouldn't be doing stuff like that, because if you weren't ghosting, it would have heavily impeded the Haas Just crossed the line. SWM Alp has invalidated, will move away from him. Persassin hasn't, although he's pulled out of the lap. Currently 7th overall. Durton on a flying lap, maybe? Certainly doesn't seem like it. Captain Schmeg behind, he's in AI. His session is done. Nix, his session is done as well, it seems. Wildebeest? Wildebeest on a flying lap, up by 1.1 seconds in the second sector. Round turn 14 and then immediately through 15. Towards the final turn of 16. Chucks it in 4th gear, 5th gear, 6th gear, up to the line. There's a 1 minute 30.115, goes 5th fastest, just behind his teammate Captain Schmeg. So that is qualifying over here at Shanghai. It's KD 1997 on pole position with Kimi alongside. Seppi in 3rd, Captain Schmeg in 4th, Wildebeest in 5th place. Those 5 drivers will be starting on the soft compound tyre. The 3 drivers behind, Bean, Alp and Persassin, all of them will be starting on the medium compound tyre in P6, 7 and 8 respectively. Durton in 9th place and Niru Nix rounds out the top 10 on the soft compound tyre. So there we go. Qualifying over. Just be waiting on Durton to retire from the session. We can have a look at the results from qualifying. It would be interesting to see what the drivers outside the top 10 elect to do in regards to strategy. The ideal strategy in a straightforward dry race is a one-stop, medium to hard strat. For the soft runners, it will be a softer hard strategy, though I have seen drivers attempt a 2-stop around here. You need a bit of luck in these sort of races as well. In the past couple of races here at Shanghai, I have seen a few safety cars, so I wouldn't be too surprised if we do see one for tonight's race as well. We went through the top 10, 2 seconds separate the top 10. Bender in 11th, Detal in 12th, Liquito in 13th, Flavius 14th, Snake and Beans in 15th, Lucid in 16th, Lake Show 17th, Doverman 18th, Gentleman Seth in 19th, and Snooker at the back of the field starts from 20th. Yeah, those 3 gentlemen here, Bean, Alp and Persassin, they'll be very interesting to see how they fare in this race, starting on the medium compound. They showed pretty good pace in qualifying, being 6th, 7th and 8th fastest on the mediums, when the tyre itself, when the tyre itself is about a second slower initially than the soft compound. So it's some performance there from those 3. Got some clouds about, but there's plenty of blue sky here at Shanghai, so it is looking like a straightforward dry race. So hopefully it'll be nice and interesting for us to watch as spectators. It'll be also interesting to see what the drivers outside the 10 do in terms of strategy. I imagine the majority of them will start on the medium tyre, but there may be a couple who start on the hards. You sort of have the pressure on you though. You can't afford to make a mistake, you can't afford to get wing damage. If you do, then you effectively lose your longest lasting tyre. So you got nothing to fall back on if you get damage or if there's an early safety car. It's a gamble, but it may pay off if you start on the hard tyre. Drivers set off on their formation lap. There is the predicted tyre stop strategy for KD. It's a 2-stop, according to him. Pit window for the soft tyre, laps 4 to 6. The soft tyre really does burn up around here, it really does. And as I suspected, the majority of the drivers outside the top 10 electing to start on the medium compound. Blender, Detal, Liquito, Flavius, Snake and Beans, all of them starting on the mediums. Lucid taking a gamble. I respect this kind of gamble, starting on the soft compound tyre. What he's planning to do is try and make up positions early on. Utilize the raw speed of the soft compound. Try and make up positions early and catch up to the guys in front and sort of compensate later on. Not only that, but it also gives you a bit of flexibility if you get damage early on by starting on the softer compound as well. Then we have Lake Show, Doberman, Seth and Snooker. All of them are starting on the medium compound as well. So 9 out of the 10 drivers outside the top 10 starting on the mediums. Lucid is the only outlier in those 10 cars. In which case we have, what's that? 8 drivers on the softs, 12 drivers on the mediums. 3 of them are on scrubbed mediums though. That's been Alpine-Passassin as they qualified in the 10. They're not on fresh rubber, those are scrubbed tyres. So, got a fair bit of strategy taking place here. Be very interesting to watch. Hopefully the racing will just be as interesting as well. You can see with this long shot, all the drivers trying to get some temperature into their tyres. Heading around the hairpin. Oh dear, Passassin sort of runs wide at the apex of 14. It kind of shows you how long that straight is. It's a nice camera shot, a long shot from turn 14. You can see all the way up to turn 13, and in that one shot you can see all the cars. It just really shows you how long that straight is. It will play a key part in this race. The majority of the overtaking is going to take place there. We'll see some overtaking at turn 1 as well, maybe at turn 6 and at turn 11. Those are potential overtaking spots as well. So several hot spots that we have to look out for as spectators during this race, and also for the drivers as well. But everyone's lined up, everyone is ready to race here at Shanghai. 20 cars on the grid. We have 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go. KD converts well, he converts really well, so does Seffi. He will follow through into second place, but it is KD who will lead the field round turn 1. The midfield though, what's going on here? It is 3 wide heading through turn 2. Drivers just trying to find a bit of track to race on, but everyone's behaving themselves pretty well here. Drivers still side by side as they're exiting turn 4, but no crashes just yet, no damage, no flying end plates. Oh dearie me, as the Mercedes-Benz of, I believe that is Lake Show, goes very deep. And he actually gets both positions. What an overtake there from Lake Show. That's pretty impressive. Straight down the middle, thread the needle, and he's into 12th. What a move. Just in behind his teammate Blender. Drivers heading towards turns 11 and 12. Down the inside. Oh, wait a minute. I was looking at the wrong Mercedes, unfortunately. I was supposed to be looking at Blender. Using overtake at the exit of 13. See this sort of slipstream train Durton, quite vulnerable. Gets overtaken by the Red Bull of Niru, and here comes Blender following suit. Into the hairpin, locking up. Here comes Lake Show around the outside. Can't get any move done there. But the first lap not too chaotic. Everyone behaved themselves. There was an AlphaTauri running wide for the final corner there, I just saw. We have the typical lap 2 glitch. It's not lap 3, it's lap 2. When they cross the first sector line, it will fix itself. But no, this is quite nice to see that everyone appears to be behaving themselves on the first lap. No one getting damaged, everyone's still in the race. At the moment, KD has pulled away a little bit from Seffi, but Seffi's closing in. That gap was about 1.3 seconds. It's now closing down to 1. Kimi closing up as well. Might see a battle for the lead in a few moments. And we got Captain Schmeg in 4th, Bean in 5th, Passassin in P6. Alp just in behind in P8, trying to close up to Hildebeest. Not using any overtake, just sitting behind for now. Around the hairpin of turn 14. Here comes the rest of the field barreling through. KD setting fastest laps. Can anyone beat that time? Yes, Hildebeest does with a 34.6. As DRS is now enabled, that will spice things up a little bit in the field. You can see here towards the front we've got this pack of cars forming a DRS train. At the front of it is Sefi in P2. Around the hairpin at turn 6, heading towards the sweepers of 7 and 8. Passassin, he looks a bit quicker than his teammate, but he's going to find it quite difficult to find a way past. Around turn 9, then turn 10. Bean gets a pretty solid exit there, pulls away from his teammate. Into 11, locking up, 2nd gear. Keeps it in 2nd, 3rd gear on the exit, 4th gear. 5th gear as Doberman is out of the race, he is retired. He has crashed at turn 9 and a safety car has been deployed. This is an early safety car, very early safety car. So what happens here? Do the soft runners gamble? Are they going to go into the pits? Perhaps put on the hard tyre? It'd be very early in the race to try and do this sort of thing. KD taking advantage of it, so is Sefi. Kimmy's doing the same. Captain Schmeg stays out. Bean's into the pits. Passassin is into the pits. So that even the medium runners are in. They're taking advantage of this. Oh, and what an overtake! What an overtake that is! Ha ha! Alp in pit entry overtakes Hildebeest. What a move! Might chuck that in for overtake of the week, huh? Alp, he was on top of things. Noticed that Hildebeest was a bit slow at pit entry, took full advantage of it, and went straight on by. Onto the hard tyre he goes. Kimmy onto a set of mediums. Interesting call. It appears that Kimmy's going to go with a 2-stop. So is Sefi in P9. KD on a set of hards. So there we go, an interesting safety car this is going to turn out to be. Got drivers now on differing strategies. We got a couple on 2-stops, a couple on hard tyres. They're trying to get to the end. Either that, or they're praying for another safety car at some point during this race, which is entirely possible. And the hard tyre sort of gives them that opportunity to not pit under green flag conditions. Because if you do pit under green flag conditions, and then a safety car comes out, you lose a whole heap of track position. So with that hard tyre, it gives you the best opportunity to try and get, well, effectively try and get to the next safety car period, if there is one. These hard tyres, I think they're going to have a hard time getting to the end. I do think it's possible, it's just going to be quite difficult. So it shakes things up quite a bit. Alp a 5-second penalty, severe collision with Kimmy, as Captain Schmeg goes into the pits. What? Yeah, it was cheeky, wasn't it, that overtake? Very cheeky. But Alp, one of the quality drivers in the field, he was right on top of his game when he made that overtake. Absolutely on top of his game. saw an opportunity and went for it. But now he's got a penalty. Severe collision with Kimi. Now, Kimi doesn't have any damage, neither does the Ferrari, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was just the lightest of contact. The game is quite severe when it comes to contact under safety car conditions. See Alp trying to get some temperature into his tyres. Yeah. That'll be something he'll have to serve if he does make another pit stop. If he gets to the end of the race without making a pit stop and still has the penalty, he might be able to argue to the stewards, the race spec stewards, to try and remove it. If the contact wasn't actually severe, it's just a game being stupid. Which, in my previous experiences with this game, is entirely possible. Now we're just waiting on Liquito to catch up to the back end of the field. Now I have a horrible feeling when he does catch up to the back of the field, the safety car will just dart into the pits last minute. If he does catch up quick enough, or actually I don't think he will. I think we will be doing another lap on the safety car, so we needn't worry about that. In Tier 1, in the Pacific Series, we had a driver join to the back of this train very late during a safety car period. But as soon as he did join to the back end of the train, the safety car immediately went into the pits. So, and it went out at the hairpin. So the leaders were effectively given about 300 meters to try and control the field and let the safety car go back into the pits. Unfortunately, they couldn't really do that, and as a result, we had a completely botched safety car restart. It was an absolute mess. But fortunately, the game has a bit of sense, and we're doing another lap on the safety car here. Liquito is back into the pits. Onto a set of hard compound tyres. Away he goes. Now he has to try and catch back up to the tail end of the train. But as of right now, we only have 2 penalties being dished out. 5 seconds for Alp, 5 seconds for Lucid. What was Lucid's 5 seconds for? Severe collision with Liquito. Interesting. And Liquito had one as well. He's removed it. No longer next to his name. You can see there Doberman terminal damage. Had a crash at turn 9. As a result, a safety car was brought out, and now the safety car is in this lap. See, this is where the safety car normally turns its lights off and goes back into the pits. So the leader is given this entire straight, the hairpin and the final turn to try and control the field and allow the safety car to go into the pits. In Tier 1, the safety car lights went out at the exit of the hairpin. So the leaders weren't given anywhere near enough time to try and control the field. As a result, we had one of the worst restarts I think I've ever seen in my commentary career. It wasn't quite as bad as the Tuscan Grand Prix in real life, but it was a pretty shocking restart. But Nix controls the field. He'll decide when to go. Blender, he's right on the gearbox, ready to pounce. He'll go around the final turn nice and gentle. He's still holding up the field. And away he goes. Tell you what, that's not a bad restart. He actually did that pretty well. Blender wasn't on top of things there. Oh, and what's going on here in the midfield? We've got drivers all over the shot. Had to go through turn 1. But Nix did a pretty decent restart there. He pulled away well. Drivers all exchanging positions, going too wide in places where they probably shouldn't be. Round turn 4. Snooker drops down to 10th place. Oh, and he goes deep. Oh, and he hits Seffi there at turn 6. Oh dear. Just overshot the corner just enough. Went into Seffi. I don't think Seffi got any damage though. Oh dear. Actually no, he's got plenty of damage on the front wing. And he's falling down the order. Driver's coming towards turn 11. Snake and Beans looking left and right to try and overtake Captain Schmeg. Schmeg trying to look for way past Snooker around turn 13. Snooker has no ERS available to him. He's dumped all of it. It's going to be a sitting duck on the straight as Laquito has spun out at the final turn. Sorry, not the final turn. Turn 13. Not the final turn. It's a long way behind now. Probably will need a safety car to try and save his race. This is the final turn that they're coming round as Durton is into the pit. So is Seffi. So both of these drivers getting wing damage. The lap after the safety car restart. Oh dear, is Lake Show off the road. He comes back on. And has wing damage as well. See the end plate missing on the left hand side. Assassin and Detail. Detail not fighting too hard. Assassin goes through to 6th place. Meanwhile at the front, Nick's leading the way. He's got KD 1997 all over the back of him. Coming around turn 10, heading towards 11, using overtake, closing in. Shows the nose. Goes for the move. Gets it done. He's back into the lead of this race with a fine move down the inside at turn 11. And now Blender wants a piece of the action. Same with Bean and Alp. It is 3 wide on the back straightaway. But Bean has nowhere to go. He's got all the momentum, but he's got a Red Bull stuck in front of him. Blender blocking Alp, heading into the hairpin at turn 14. Alp goes deep. Too deep. Makes contact with the Red Bull, not too much. Heading towards turn 16, the final turn of the racetrack. Nix goes into the pits. Alp runs wide. But fortunately, he kept it on the racetrack, only just. Round turn 1. Then into turn 2. Nice and gentle. Then turn 3. This final part of the snail section, turn 4. Hard on the brakes around the hairpin of turn 6. So, top 4 all on the same strategy. All of them effectively in the same scenario, except for Alp. He has that 5-second penalty that he has to deal with. He's 1.7 seconds behind our current race leader. Bean about to be passed by Persassin here at turn 11. Saw ever so briefly that Bean ran wide there at turn 10. Around turn 13. Blender and Kimmy just in behind. Kimmy ready to attack. He'll close in. Both cars have DRS. Kimmy, he's thinking about it. Oh, and Blender goes too deep into the hairpin. As a result, Kimmy's now into 5th place. Now Kimmy, he's on medium tyres, but they are the same age as the hard tyres in front, so Kimmy should have the edge here in terms of pace. Bean runs a bit wide through turn 1. Around turn 2. Then turn 3. You can see Kimmy just closes in, using the extra grip from these medium compound tyres. Excuse me, medium compound tyres. Seffi setting fastest laps, 1 minute 34.5, down in 17th. A long way down to where he should be. It's unfortunate that safety car restart really hurt him. Kimi closing in on the back of Bean. And KD's pulling away from Alp here. So KD really pushing hard. Gap of 2.2 seconds. But I just can't help but wonder, is KD pushing a bit too hard on these tyres right now? And Durton is off the racetrack in the gravel. Gets it back on to the black stuff, but spins out, applies too much throttle. He's in neutral. There's a bit of tarmac there. Use it. Get back onto the racetrack. He just has to be very careful not to apply too much throttle, like he is doing right now. Oh, you can't be serious, man. When I'm on board. Ah, this better not bring out a safety car. I don't think it will. Thank goodness. That's it. Oh, that's just silly. I would have thought it would have been drilled into your heads by now. You are not allowed to retire voluntarily on track. If you're going to retire voluntarily, you must do it in the pit lane. That way there isn't any sort of potential for a safety car coming out. Because if there was a safety car that came out because of that, it would have changed the entire complexity of this race. But anyway, I'm sure the stewards will look into that post-race. The tail closing in. Can't make a move here at the hairpin just yet. Snake and Beans overtaking Hildebeest. Or rather, the other way round. Hildebeest attacking Snake and Beans. Hildebeest into 9th place. Starting to pull away those fresher hard tyres, just have a slight edge over those worn mediums. Kimi just falling away from Bean a little bit. Maybe even his medium tyres are starting to feel the wear and tear. He was a lot closer to Bean in the past couple of laps. He's fallen away quite a bit, 1.5 seconds behind. Got the Schmeg on the back of the tail. Blender is just in front. Heading towards the heavy braking zone of 11. Shifts down to 2nd gear. Blender sideways. But he keeps it on the track. Only just, but he kept it on the track. Exiting 13 down the long straight, using overtake, then using DRS. Haas closing in on the Red Bull, the Red Bull closing in on the Mercedes, on the brakes, into the hairpin, to tail goes deep. Captain Schmeg gets by into 7th place. Around the final turn and onto the pit straight. Start lap 13 for these guys. Hildebeest, a 3-second time penalty. Got that at the final turn. Not too much else happening on the racetrack. Alpine's starting to close in a little bit on KD. Gap was over 2 seconds, it's now under. Round turns 9 and 10. Oh, Alp makes a mistake, and Passassin might pounce. The gap closes in tremendously. And the gap opens up tremendously between KD and Alp. Around turn 12. You saw there at the exit of turn 9, Alp ran onto the curb on the outside. Really unsettled the car. And as a result, he couldn't take turn 10 properly. And here comes Passassin, and there's absolutely nothing Alp can do. Into second place goes the Alfa Romeo, and Bean's going to introduce himself to this as well. Passassin goes too deep. He overshoots the hairpin. He didn't compensate for the amount of speed he had with the DRS. And Alp said, thank you very much, mate. I'll take second place back from you. Passassin not giving up, though. Down the inside into 1. If you can hold it there, he'll have the inside line for turn 2, but not for turn 3. Alp has the dominant position, and he hangs on to second place for now. Coming up to turn 6, a heavy braking zone here. Will he look? No. He won't look down the inside. He'll stay in third place for now. Snake and Beans into the pits. Same with Gentleman Seth. They're going to go onto the hard tyre to go to the end of the race. So with this battle going on, the gap between P1 and 2 has opened up quite a bit. Just over 3 seconds is the margin. There's our race leader. Here comes P2, 3 and 4. There's P5 with Kimi. Kimi needs to make another pit stop at some stage during this race. Assassin closes in, shows the nose, doesn't go for the move, stays in third. Now, looking back here, Sefi on a recovery drive here, currently in 12th place, behind Nix, who is trying desperately to break the toe. Down the inside, there was just a big enough gap, only just big enough for a Formula 1 car to fit through. But Sefi committed to the inside line, a fine move into 11th. Tal and Blender fighting for position, and P7 and 8, they're on the same strategy. Currently on 14 lap old medium tyres. Oh no, Detal spins off into the infield. Second gear. Gonna try and get it back onto the track as safely as he can. But what a costly mistake this will be. Just got on the throttle too much there at the exit of 6. And he spins out. Falls down to 9th. Assassin, he's close, and I think he's going to go for it down the inside. Can he take the corner properly this time? He does. He'll pat himself on the back with that one. This time he didn't overshoot. Gets the move done. Now he'll have his eyes firmly set on the racing point in front as he sets fastest lap with a 1 minute 34.112. This is the closest battle in this field. The rest of the drivers on track fairly well spread apart. No real battles taking place as of yet. Snooker, 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings as Flavius goes into the pits. Vitel's still out there on those medium tyres, same with Blender. I wonder if they're trying to push to a soft stint to go to the end. Either that or praying for a safety car. Now is Alp going to return the favour here? He's half a second behind. Gonna get DRS. That is Lakeshore getting overtaken by Snake and Beans at turn 6. Lakeshore made some sort of error. Lost him a fair amount of time in one place there in the first sector. Round the final turn. To cross the finish line again to begin lap 17. Probably right on board with him over the course of this lap. We'll see how Alp operates himself around the circuit. Comes around turn 3, a bit of locking up there. It's quite typical to see that. See, they're very gentle on the throttle. Passassin gets a pretty good exit there out of turn 4. Turn 6, Seth a 3-second time penalty. Gently on the throttle, 3rd gear, 4th gear, 5th gear, 6th. And carries 6th gear all the way around turn 7, then into 7th on the exit. Interesting. Around turn 9, misses the apex slightly. Gets a nice exit out of 10, but Passassin pulling away. Alp closing in. Bean closing in. Out of 13. He's still within a second, but it appears that Passassin has got the measure of Alp. I reckon Alp might be a bit vulnerable here to Bean in a few laps. Around the hairpin, 2nd gear, short shifts to 3rd. 4th gear, 5th gear. And around the final turn. So at the moment, out of this trio of cars in P2, 3 and 4, Passassin appears to have the measure of the 2 cars behind. Bean looks pretty solid as well. Alp, I would believe, the slowest out of the bunch. You saw on that lap, Passassin pulling away and Bean closing in. Kimi in the pits. Onto a fresh set of medium compound tires. With 11 laps remaining, he'll be getting these tires to the end, and currently P7. He's well inside the points, and if there's a safety car, that will help him out tremendously. Sector 3, yellow flags. That is a Ferrari who has spun. Snooker getting out of the way of the leaders. Gets back onto the racetrack. Zaquito? Is that Sefi? No, that's Sefi. Making a mistake at turn 6. Lost a bunch of time. Nixon Blender catching up. So we have 12 laps to go. Still plenty of racing to take place. Still a bit of a question mark to how... whether or not these tyres will get to the end of the race. At some stint on the tyre, about 26 laps. It's a lot of work that these tyres have to do. So the final few laps will be interesting to watch. See if any of these guys get punctures. Currently Haas look pretty solid in P5 and 6. They're on a similar strategy to the 4 cars in front. Kimi's on a charge. He's just set a purple first sector. P7 will be a pretty solid finish, but he wants more. I don't blame him. Sector 3 yellows. Reads that snooker again. Bean closes in. Not close enough to go for the overtake just yet. Meanwhile, out in front, putting on a fairly solid display, KD leading the way. Alpa 3-second time penalty. He won't be able to remove that, I would think. So he might be able to remove the 5 seconds next to his name, but those 3 seconds, that will hurt him. That will hurt him dearly. Blender, 3 seconds now, down in 10th place. Around turn 6. The gap is closing between the top two. Gap is now under 2 seconds. Around turn 7, then turn 8. Bean just closes in incrementally. Can't get it done just yet though. Flavius and Laquito exchanging positions. Those for P14 and 15, those are for points. Remember, in Race Spec, the top 15 score points in the championship as Laquito is in the pits. Again, none of these guys are quite close enough to attack each other, are they? They are close enough to keep my interest, not close enough to attack. Because if any of these guys make one single mistake, it really cost him, as we saw with Pisasson, making the move at the hairpin at turn 14. Then he overshot the corner and allowed Alp to go back through. He was lucky enough that he was able to hang on to P3 and not have Bean overtake him. Gap between the top two is coming down. Now it's 1.8 seconds. Up losing a bit of time. Not a lot. Just a little bit. He's still within DRS range. Using overtake here, Bean. He closes in. Will he switch it back on? No, Alp counters. He uses his ERS to try and keep the Alfa Romeo at bay. Around the final turn. To begin lap 22 of 28. 7 laps to go. Meanwhile, Kimi closing in on Hildebeest. Gap is just over a second. He won't get DRS on this lap. He'll get it on the next one that he's just about to start. He'll be within a second, I imagine, at the end of this complex. Those medium tyres will be so much quicker than those worn hards. As Detail, doing 20 laps on the mediums, is finally into the pits. He'll be going on to a set of soft compound tyres to go to the end. There's one hell of a stint on the medium compound. The gap is really closing up between the top two, 1.3 seconds. Hurtling towards the hairpin. Bean. Still close. Not close enough. Kimi coming around turn 13. It'd be difficult for Hildebeest to hang on to this. He doesn't have DRS, he doesn't have any ERS to play with. Down the inside, Kimi not taking any chances. Make sure he had the dominant position. And he's through into 6th place. The gap between the top two has really closed. It's just over a second now. What's going on here? seem to have a titanic battle for the final point scoring place. Lucid, Laquito and Gentleman Seth in a three-way scrap for 1 point. Laquito appears to have the upper hand in terms of tyre compound. He's on fresh softs. I think he'll get Lucid here on the straightaway. Use DRS. He has very little ERS to play with though. And McLaren has got some legs on it too. Quito can't overtake just yet. Seth deep on the brakes, closes in a lot. As here come the leaders. So we got effectively now a two-way scrap for 15th. Laquito shows the nose. Can't get the move done just yet. Here are the leaders, KD, Passassin, Alp and Beam. Round turn 4. Gentleman Seth. Believe he'll be trying to get out of the way and does. Round turn 6. So KD's quite vulnerable now. He has no DRS to play with. The cars behind do. He's got a little bit of battery life left, about 30 odd %. So he's got a little bit in his back pocket, but Passassin, similar scenario. Alp only has about 15 or so %. Beans in the 20s. So all of these guys effectively in the same boat. Oh, as Laquito, I think, just went into the back of Lucid. He was slowing down to let the leaders by. He's going to look around the long way. Bean loses a bit of time. Oh, and Laquito's actually got wing damage from that. I'm sure he'll be none impressed with that. Okay, your role is to not only move out of the way of the leaders when you're being shown the blue flags, you have to do it in a safe and controlled manner. Fortunately, Laquito went straight into the back of the McLaren of Lucid on the long back straight. But this battle really going to intensify with the laps counting down. Heading around turns 11 and 12 and then immediately into turn 13. Realistically, 3 cars are in with a shot to win this. Alp, realistically speaking, is not in a shot to win this. Even if he can get that 5 seconds removed, he still has the 3 seconds next to his name. Going to be next to impossible for him to win this. It won't stop him trying though. He's defending. Round the hairpin. Then turn 15, the little kink. And then into turn 16, the final turn on the racetrack. They have 3 laps to try and settle this. 3 laps, effectively about 10 miles worth of racing left. 4 cars, all in a nice group here, ready to give it everything for the sake of victory. Around turn 5 and then into turn 6. KD, he's going to have to try and make that the widest racing point anyone has ever seen. Very similar technique between Passassin and Alp, just riding on board with him. Carries 6th gear around turn 7, doesn't go into 7th gear. Around turn 11. And then turn 12. You see that Assassin, he's got about a 20% advantage when it comes to battery life. That racing point was a bit squirrely at the exit of 13. Down the long straightaway with DRS open. He is closing in as Bean overtakes the Ferrari. He has the inside line. He's in the dominant position. Alp doesn't care though. He's going to go around the long way. Goes too deep. Can't hold it there either. Bean into third. Oh, and KD is fighting hard at the exit of turn 15. Round the final turn. He wants to keep the lead. 2 laps to go. Assassin, he'll have DRS. KD blocks him off. Round turn 1. Now Bean, or Assassin rather, down the inside. They make contact. And KD turns at the apex. Bean's introduced himself to this battle now. Alp, there's nothing much he can do. He basically has to get the lounge chair out, grab a bucket of popcorn and just watch, I reckon, and hope that these three get into some sort of incident. He can come out victorious. Stephen Bradbury performance of sorts. Don't know who Stephen Bradbury is. I can't remember which Winter Olympics it was, but probably the first and only time you'll see an Australian win gold in speed skating. Assassin, is he close enough to attack? He's thinking about it. He's switching between overtake and not using overtake. KD defends. Assassin round the long way. He holds it there. KD's pushing him. This is hard racing here, folks. The final lap is about to begin. The final 3.4 miles of this race. Assassin around the long way at turn 1. Oh, and KD spins! Away he goes, out of the lead. His chance for a win out the window. Now it's between the two Alfa Romeos. It's Assassin versus Bean. Alp just watching along. KD fought hard. Fortunately, in that scenario, at turn 1, he came out second best. Now down in 4th place, 3 seconds behind Alp, as Bean gets a 3-second time penalty. Alp might go for a move here on Bean. If he can try and remove that 5-second penalty, he's on the same ground as his rival in front. DRS open. Will Alp go for a move? He shows the nose. He brakes deep. But not deep enough. Bean hangs on. Just. But out in front, Assassin will round the final turn. He will take victory here at Shanghai. Bean in second, Alp crossing the line in third. That will be given to KD. But that may be changed once the stewards do their investigations. Captain Schmeg in a very respectable P5. Kimi will cross the line in P6. Hildebeest with 6 seconds worth of pens. I think he'll just hang on to P7. Here comes Sefi in the top 10. A fine recovery. Blender will cross the line in 9th. Then it's the two Red Bulls in P10 and 11. Lakeshore will come home in 12th. Dean has already left the session. Hopefully he got the results. Snake and Beans will cross the line in 13th. Flavius in 14th place, our final finisher. Lucid is in 15th as well, our final point scoring position. There we go, drive of the day given to our race winner, Possession. It's a double podium for Alfa Romeo. An unofficial podium, that is. Of course, if we may have some stewards' investigations after the race. We saw what happened at turn 1. KD coming home on the podium in 3rd place. He raced so incredibly hard to try and hang on. Unfortunately for him, best he could do was 3rd. Alp will finish in 4th, Katashmeg in 5th, Kimi 6th, Hildeby 7th, Sefi 8th, Belinda 9th, Nix in 10th, Detal 11th, Lake Show 12th, Snake and Beans 13th, Flavius 14th, and Lucid rounds out the finishes in, the point scoring finishes in 15th. Then we have Laquito, Gentleman Seth, Snooker, and our 2 retirements, Durton and Doberman. Not a bad race. Definitely had its dull moments, but pretty solid race all round. Kind of what you come to expect with Shanghai. Tends to be a bit of a mixed bag. And Detail snags fastest lap with a 1 minute 33.060. So he'll snag that extra fastest lap point. But there you are. Another week, another Grand Prix. Not too bad at all. Next week, we go to several of these drivers' home circuit of the Americas. COTA is an interesting racetrack. I like to think of it as a Frankenstein circuit where it takes famous parts of certain racetracks and sort of implements them onto this racetrack. Most notably Maggots and Beckett's, that high-speed S section in the first sector at COTA, very reminiscent of Maggots and Beckett's. You also have kind of Turkey's Turn 8, sort of an arena section from Hockenheim, sort of inspired section. After the long straightaway at turn 12. But generally speaking, the racing is pretty solid at COTA, so I'll be looking forward to that. But the action doesn't stop here at Shanghai. At the end of the week, we will have the RSTs battle it out on this racetrack. It'll be very interesting to watch to see how the league's best operate themselves around the circuit. But until then, I've been the Smeg. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next week for the United States Grand Prix at Circuit of the Americas. Until then, goodbye.